Hey guys, welcome to Beer Break. My name is Albie. I'm joined today by my friends Carlos and Juan, and we just saw Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 4, The Last Starks. That's what it's called, right? The Last Starks?
Yeah, I believe
It's
that's
not The
what
Last
that
of the
is.
Stark? No, it's
No,
The
it-
Last Starks, right?
No,
Last
no,
Starks, yeah.
no. Wait.
I'm sorry.
It
I sound
is
like an uncultured swine.
the
mean,
last
to-
of the Starks.
The Last of the... Fuck. I'm sorry, guys.
I mean,
I fucked that up.
to be fair, they don't really give you a title.
The
on
Last of the
Amazon
Starks. Okay.
Until later.
Well, we watched this episode. We have a lot of thoughts. I think some of us agree on some things, some of us don't agree on some other things, but we really wanted to take a look into this episode and see where it's going to lead Game of Thrones from here on. So, very quickly, what would you guys give the episode on a scale of 1 to 10?
Okay, guess I'm going first.
Yeah.
We never know who goes first.
yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I'll just jump in and say it was definitely like a 8.5 for me.
8.5, interesting.
Yeah.
1?
Yeah, I'm pretty much at an 8 out of 10 for this one.
Yeah, me, I'm kind of... I've been thinking about it a lot. I have to say it's 7.5 to 8 for now. And it might be higher once the season is over and we start seeing kind of how all the pieces fit together. It might be a little bit higher. Like, at this point, you know, it seems like the Night King's not coming back. And then, in that sense, my score for episode 3 goes lower, you know.
It's not the 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's not the 10 out of 10 like I had said before. So here, for now, it's 7.5 to 8 for me. But yeah, so what did you guys want to talk about first? Is there anything that stuck out to you? For example, let's say, what's the thing you absolutely hated the most, if there was anything in the episode?
Absolutely hated the most.
That the Night King didn't come back.
Okay.
No, I think that's what, that's where I stand, with this episode. I was hoping to get a little bit more,
With the Night King.
yeah, just a little bit more background, and it just wasn't there. They got right to it,
Mhm.
planning for Cersei, so.
Yeah, I have to admit, it's a shame that he went out so anticlimactically. I don't think he's going to come back, but he might still be part of the story, maybe. But
Yeah, I mean, I know I was the one in the last episode where I was just like, yeah, it's just about the true
Cersei.
evil of humans, and it played out exactly how I wanted. Do I miss the Night King? Yes. Do I wish it ended differently? Yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't the one thing I hated the most, because I think this episode did derive what I feel like it did, because there's so much outrage, at this episode, and
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's exactly what they wanted, and
Possibly.
and I feel really good about that part for
So-
sure.
so what's the one thing that you hit? Because you had something that you were going to say.
Yeah, so I got two that really, I can't decide between both. I'm gonna go with the Tyrion one.
Okay.
Obviously, guys, spoiler alert. So when Tyrion walks out and he's making his plea to Cersei, and he's like, "You're not a monster." Like, man, I think that goes against his character in a sense where we just now know he's just in a desperation mode that just does not even make sense, because the whole, like, probably even in that episode, he describes to Jaime on how, like, I'm glad you're happy, I'm glad you're away from her, basically, and then he goes like, I know you're not a monster. Like, it's just such a weird, uncharacteristic thing for him to do, and I felt like that speech should have been much more wiser and less emotional as the character that betrayed him, and it just, I don't know, I didn't enjoy that scene at all. I felt like it was too out of character for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think he just didn't have anything else to reason with anymore. Like, at this point, there's probably nothing he could say that will turn her,
To convince Cersei, yeah.
to convince her, like, okay, take the throne. So I think that was just like a desperate plea, just had to throw something out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like two ways about it. I think it's characteristic of him in the sense that he doesn't want any bloodshed, but it's also contradictory because he even tells Jaime in episode 2, "You've always known who she was." So
Exactly.
what did he think she was gonna do? But what she did, and also it's funny, but it reminded me of season 6 when Sansa tells Jon, Rickon is dead. There's no way we're going to save him. And I would imagine that one of these people would know that once Missandei was captured, there was no hope of seeing her again, you know? Spoiler alert.
I mean, all our reviews are spoilers.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
But
as
yeah.
far as like, I don't know why they would skip to season 8 reviews.
I know, it'd
But,
be
you
weird,
know.
it'd be weird. But yeah, I just don't see what they expected with Missandei being with Cersei of all people. She's not gonna let her go for any.
Yeah, there's no way.
For,
I think something else that was really irritating me throughout the episode is just Daenerys. Like, little by little, she's getting a little bit more mad, and
that irritates you how, like, from a character standpoint, or it's annoying to you?
I mean,
you don't want it to go that way.
I just think she's gonna make mistakes on the way. Like, I don't want it to go that way, you know, because I'm obviously rooting for her for the most part. I mean, I'm rooting for like a happy ending where, you know, they both rule, right? I've told you all this.
Yeah.
Um,
You
but
think this has a happy ending? You haven't been paying attention.
I think
Get
she's
around.
been acting emotionally, and it's gonna cost her something. Like, it was that scene when she was riding on Drogon, and they just killed Rhaegal, and she just kind of like super ballsy screams and, you know, kind of dives towards them, and then
Yeah.
she kind of like bitches out towards the end. But like, it's stupid moves like that could have gotten Drogon killed too. And then like, what the fuck does she have now? So like,
Yeah.
she's just acting
I mean, I think
erratic.
in some ways they have been building towards like a Mad Queen scenario, you know. And I was wondering, like, it's funny because in episode 2 or episode 1, me and my brother were talking about with Juan how we thought that maybe Daenerys might end up becoming an antagonist for the season, just because it seemed like she was being so uncompromising towards, you know, Tyrion's, you know, apparent lack of, you know, being a quality hand
Yeah.
of the queen, you know, because he kept making mistakes.
Yeah,
But it seemed like she was being overly, you know, demanding, you know, and it seemed like she was heading towards that direction. And I was wondering if they're going to go full on villain, but it seems like something my brother told me, which I thought was really interesting, was that it seems that with Missandei dying, it makes Daenerys more of a tragic character in the same vein as Magneto is a tragic character for X-Men, because in the end, once she does do all those things that we know are bad, it's kind of hard not to sympathize with her for doing those things because of what she's been through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it makes it more, it definitely makes it more bittersweet and less like she's obviously a bad guy or whatever. It's like, it's a complicated situation.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, I definitely think she's gonna lose her mind. You know, there's that scene also during, you know, the feast and the celebration where
Mhm.
Tormund is kind of talking to
About
everybody
Jon
and saying
Snow.
like, yeah, like, oh, this guy rode a fucking dragon. Like, he got on a dragon and he fought, and then it kind of cuts to Daenerys and just the. Y'all have to watch the scene again, but just the look on her face.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
She looks she looks like she's losing it.
I
And then
think
it cuts to Varys.
it's
kind of
funny,
just like,
but that face that she makes, it reminds me of when I used to go to parties and stuff, because and this is a completely different like scenario, right? But like, I didn't really know a lot of people when I went to parties, and so when I saw people like having fun and stuff, I'm just like, what am I supposed to be doing? And kind of also a little bit of jealousy, just because I'm not, you know, involved with
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
that's
yeah.
going on. And you see that in Daenerys. She's
yeah,
like,
she's definitely not involved in anything.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, they kind of toasted her once. And then
Mhm.
after that, it's just all like John, you know,
John and
the,
Arya.
the king, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I think what's crazy for me, like I know I was the one hoping this would happen, and the more that it's starting to happen, the more I feel for her. I mean, I think more than anything, like, it all makes sense why she goes mad. You know, like, she just lost Jorah, you know, now she lost Missandei, and
she lost
The-
Rhaegal.
yeah, she lost Rhaegal, she lost
Viserion.
obviously Viserion. Like she's losing everything that
Was
she
close
built
to her.
up in the last 7 seasons, and it sucks.
The only-
you know?
Not to mention Tyrion is also, you know, he says that you know, thinking about it isn't treason, you know, but like he's even thinking about like, you
Oh,
know,
yeah, it's-
betraying her
Yeah.
for Jon. So
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, so I guess, do you think that's like something that is gonna be interesting for you to see if they do betray Daenerys? Do you think that's like something that you're looking forward to happening in the next couple of episodes?
I mean, if it happens, I hope it's not Tyrion, you know, because Tyrion's definitely conflicted. You know, if it does happen, it'd be kind of cool to see Varys do it because he's already thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he talks about serving the realm.
Mhm.
So if it actually happens, I don't think I'd be disappointed. I mean, I'd be disappointed that Daenerys is not going to sit on the Iron Throne, right? But
What do you think of their point of like Jon being like a more tempered and
I mean, I think that whether Jon wants it or not, the minute everybody knows who he is, like, there's just no letting go of it. There's just no saying I don't want the throne. It's just like, no,
it's yours?
it's yours, and it's his whether he wants it or not.
There's a
Do you got something to say?
No, no,
Oh,
I'm just listening. I
There-
don't know why he's laughing at
no,
me.
no. It's because there's a meme that I've seen of Jon. He's just like that, and it shows it's like hashtag failure to success. Like just like that's what his character is. Like he's just always like fuck, but he's still succeeding. You know what I mean? He becomes king of the
Yeah.
North, Lord Commander, and then now king of the Seven Realms possibly. Although I don't think they will go that way. I think that'd be too obvious.
Yeah, I mean, and I think again the fact that Jon, Daenerys told him like don't tell anybody, and he told somebody. It's because he wants some people to know, and he's willing to take that risk. That word gets out, and maybe he won't know how to handle it when the word gets out. But I mean, word's getting out regardless.
What-
There's-
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, yeah, I mean, with that too, like, I feel like, just family, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, Sansa, Arya, they were a part of his family for the longest time, and whether he saw it or not at the time, because obviously Catelyn was kind of a bitch to him, now more than ever, they feel like they need to be united, and I think his disconnect would happen if he did not tell them the truth.
Mhm.
And he needed to tell them just to have that peace of mind because, I mean, for me, I think that was really honorable, not necessarily the smart thing to do because I feel like at this point, like, it's like y'all said, like, I don't think he really has a choice. It just kind of happens.
Mhm.
Now, also, it's weird that they're just kind of giving us that. So once we get into predictions, I'll say my piece on that too.
Yeah, because Rhaegar was actually loved by the people. So people actually loved him. Westeros was all for him for the most part.
Yeah.
So once they find out, like, oh shit, this is
He's
his
Rhaegar's son.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
this is his son. Like,
And Lyanna
yeah,
Stark's son.
they're gonna back him.
The
I-
world will back him.
Yeah, would you all say that Starks and Targaryens, those two houses are probably the biggest houses in Westeros, right?
Probably right now, yeah, for
so
sure.
like,
Yeah.
once the people find out that, oh shit, this guy is not
A
just
Targaryen.
a Targaryen, but he has
Not just
Stark
Stark
in him.
Targaryen, yeah.
So like, I think once people find out, they're not gonna let it go. That's
Yeah.
like who they need. and who
Yeah,
they
yeah,
want.
for sure.
Yeah, so.
So pretty much talking about some of the stuff that we, didn't like or maybe, we're kind of neutral on. What are some of the things that you liked from the episode that you were like, this is freaking awesome? If there
Emilia
was anything.
Clarke, dude, like she fucking killed her character. Like her facial expressions, her emotions, like the transitions from the first part, obviously her mourning Jorah's death to the feast celebration, to where it turns and she notices like I'm not really a part of this and I'm not probably ever going to be a part of this and the last scene when she walks with the camera right in her face and she sold that shit. Like I'm just like, yeah, they're all gonna die. Like she is on a rage that no one can stop at this point. No voice of reason will tell her what to do now. She's just gonna be on a huge rage and I'm really curious how powerful they're gonna make her come this next episode because in a sense I feel like she's inevitable at this point. Where she's just gonna fucking destroy everything. And
Yeah, I
it's
think
gonna
so
be
too.
great.
Because they keep talking about like you don't want to just destroy King's Landing and all the innocent people. Like that's where it's going. Like the way she walked away at the very end, where you could just see her face and she's like fucking pissed. Like she's not gonna think rationally. She's gonna get on Drogon and she's gonna fuck shit up. Dude.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
mean,
gonna cost her greatly too.
yeah, I mean, I've always posited that I don't think Daenerys really cares about the people of Westeros, just because she hasn't had really any bonding with them in the same way that she had with the people in Essos, the ones that she saved. I know I told, I forgot who I told this, but I felt like when the reason she was acting the way she was acting in the first 3 episodes was because she has this kind of like preconceived notion that everyone in Westeros is more spoiled, more pompous, more. So she doesn't really give a crap, and she's trying to be good for the sake of her advisors and for the sake of the realm. But now that her most trusted advisor and friend is gone, she doesn't care.
Yeah, I mean the entire series, for the most part, like when she says she's gonna get to Westeros, she's definitely doing the talking. Like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. But now you're here, shit's not going your way. I mean,
As it always does.
I don't think she can, walk the walk.
And but yeah, honestly, she was definitely my favorite out of this whole episode. She, as much as like again, I wanted this to happen, and it's really happening, and she pulled it off, and I think she's gonna be the Mad Queen, and I'm gonna fucking like seeing that. As much as I didn't want it to happen, because I did want John to finally have an happy ending, but
And now that we're talking about that last scene, and we'll go to what your favorite thing was after. A lot of the reviews seem to be unanimous, at least from the ones I've read, that one of the biggest reasons why this episode is kind of bad is just the writing in terms of the women characters, and they feel like the way Missandei went out is inherently racist and misogynistic. But I wanted to know, what do you guys think about that? Do you think it's racist and misogynistic the way Missandei went out?
I mean, how the fuck do they even get to that? Like, I mean, maybe you understand their perspective, but I mean, how is this?
I understand
racist?
it a little bit, and I personally don't agree with it. From their perspective, from what I've read, it's that they feel that they're shortchanging characters who are people of color or women for the sake of the plot. You kill Missandei just so you can have that, Daenerys goes mad and stuff. And the whole thing of women going mad and that, a man will be a better king and stuff is like supposedly inherently misogynistic. And me personally,
Yeah.
I'll say my part.
no.
I don't agree with any of it. I mean, one, why are you bringing race and gender into it?
Yeah.
I think a character is a character, and they serve the purpose of the story, whatever it is, whether woman or man. But I don't know what you guys think. I mean, when you saw it, did that ever occur to you?
Not at all.
Not at all.
There
I
you
mean, I think what was great about her character and the fact that like she was getting offed. I know we all kind of predicted she would get offed versus Grey Worm, and I didn't want to believe that just because
Right.
just as far as like a stereotype and a predictable scale, like I felt like Grey Worm was going to go out and battle Winterfell, and he did it. So then they did it in this way where, it was a very symbolic moment in the sense where Dany always felt that she was in control. She had the power. She had the dragons. And this whole episode, they really show that she's not in control. There is a higher power that is going to threaten you. And the way they threaten her is so symbolic because the fact that she's in chains, Dany, the breaker of chains, and she's in chains. And then
Missandei, right?
yeah, Missandei, sorry. Like as far as like referring to Dany, the breaker of chains, and then her being in chains. What do you call it? That was something that spoke to me. Like I know that's another complaint everyone's saying. Like why is she in chains? I'm like, because that's the big symbol that Cersei's trying to tell her. Like you're the breaker of chains. Well, I'm the person that puts those chains on, and obviously don't fuck with me. And then when she initiates the execution, Missandei also went out very beautifully, in my opinion, when she's like, your final words, and she could have easily said, Grey Worm, I love you, whatever. She could have easily said something obviously uncharacteristic of her. But she went out like the loyal woman she was to Dany and say, Dracarys. And then, honestly, the minute she said that, I was like, that's fucking badass. Like,
I thought Drogon was going to do something when she said that.
I was just like, okay, is Rhaegal still alive? Like, he's just going to pop out of nowhere or some shit.
That would have been super cool.
Yeah, but, I mean, on my take on that, I mean, it's just like, what the fuck do y'all expect, Like, I mean, yes, they killed Missandei, but who else were they going to kill? Tyrion? I mean, that would have been a little surprising, but I mean, Tyrion still has a role to play in this entire season, right? For the rest of the season. So, like, they're not going to kill him. Who else does she have close to her that she would lose her shit over, right?
No, yeah. I mean, and I think when people put, present day politics into a story that takes place in the Middle Ages, it's not going to work. I mean,
and unfortunately, that's the world we live in. But I'm not going to get into that.
No,
But,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's the world we live into. Where I mean,
and I just thought it was interesting because that's one of the main reasons why on Rotten Tomatoes right now it stands at a 60%,
Yeah,
which is
6%.
it hasn't been that low since.
it was the bear, something bear, right? It was-
No, it's in season 5. It's
Unbroken, Unbent.
yeah.
I forgot.
Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken.
There you go.
Which is where Sansa gets raped by Ramsay.
Oh yeah.
And that one has like a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. But no, yeah. I just thought it was interesting seeing that perspective, and it's funny because it's a whole bunch of white people talking about this, and I'm like, why don't you have somebody who actually is a person of color that talk about on it, you know?
2019 for you.
But so what was, moving on from that negativity a little bit, what was your favorite thing about this episode?
I mean,
Carlos?
I think I got a couple, but I definitely, so coming into the episode, the deaths of the previous episode, Jorah, Theon, Ed, Lyanna, who else was it?
I saw that reaction in
Barry.
person.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
like,
saw that reaction in person.
like
yeah.
those actually hit me. Those deaths hit me harder in the beginning of this episode. Like it
Right.
clicked. Like shit, these guys are gone.
Dan, yeah.
Right? And I don't know if it's just because I had so much, to say about episode 3 that it clouded my judgment or like clouded my thoughts. But the minute I saw that opening scene, I was just like, oh, fuck. Like it bummed me out, man. I was like, fuck. Like these guys are gone. Like Jorah is fucking gone. And that's not something I would have said, during the long night.
Right.
During the long night, I was like, really? That's how Jorah died? But, after that's all said and done, I'm just like, dude, he's done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right, so-
it's done.
So I mean, that's probably one of my, I wouldn't say my favorite things, but one of the things that
You really
definitely
liked about
made
the
this
episode.
This made this episode for me.
Yeah, and and speaking to that scene, I really like John's whole speech. It was really rousing and moving, I thought,
Yeah, I think-
especially in the end when he says, "They were the shields that guarded the
Yeah.
realms of man,
Oh yeah.
and we won't see their like again." And I was like, "Oh God."
Man,
That was so
The
impactful.
whole night watch turned into like literally the symbolic of like everyone
Yeah.
was the night watch at that point. And
Mhm.
I thought that was fucking awesome. Like a good callback to where he came from and where he
Mhm.
started
Yeah.
to really bring it into light that way was super awesome.
Yeah. No, yeah, and on that aspect, that's what pains me a little bit about seeing where the show was headed in these last few episodes. It's just the loss of that philosophy of
Yeah.
being the shield that guards the realms of man, and because I don't think Cersei or Daenerys could care for that at this point.
Yeah, and something else that kind of answered some questions for me is in the back of my head. I always thought like, okay, so are the Baratheons just done at this point? And I mean,
They did
no,
do
I
some
mean,
fan service there.
yeah, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Gendry got legitimized, right? So
Mhm.
now he's a Baratheon. So that I like that they answered that question. It's something I've always thought like, is that ever gonna happen? Is Gendry ever gonna live, long enough for that to happen? And although Daenerys, I feel like she kind of did it just to kind of break the ice, because everybody was so quiet at the beginning, like everybody was just eating and having their own conversations. And then she legitimizes him as a Baratheon. I think that pays off my my question as far as like what happens to the Baratheons now.
Yeah. Do you have anything else that you wanted to touch on before we move on to like
No,
predictions or stuff?
Yeah, we can move on.
Oh wait, I didn't say what my most
Yeah,
favorite
you
thing
didn't.
was.
Yeah, I was about to say. I was like, I guess you hated this episode.
No. I'd say my most favorite thing was thinking about it.
Think that Super Goze already hit you?
No.
Dogfish had everybody.
Actually, it's kind of hard to because I think Jon Snow, his talk was really awesome, but going further into it, I will say I think Missandei's death was really shocking. Just
It's
'cause
kind of brutal, dude.
yeah,
It was,
I really felt Daenerys' anger in that moment.
God, man, like, I mean, we just learned how that was shot too,
Yeah,
and it's just so fucking smart, and how
Yeah.
they played it out was just, again, I thought it was a beautiful way to go out, like,
Mhm.
like more than anything.
I guess one thing I could say that was really awesome, but ended in like disappointment, was when Jon was finally telling Sansa and Arya his secret.
Yeah.
But then they cut away, and I was
Dude,
like,
I
I wanted
wanted
to
to
see the reaction.
I think we all looked at each other when that happened, and we're just like what? Like, why?
And Juan doesn't agree.
See, no, that one I don't agree with. Only because, I mean, I think what's cool about genuine reactions is like, you could have a genuine reaction as a human being, but then you're going to second think it. You know what I mean? And then your actions will tell you how you really felt about it.
Yeah.
So I think they did it beautifully in that way. Because mind you, like, I didn't want to hear another discussion like, I'm a Targaryen. How? Why? Blah blah blah. Like I don't need to hear that. So when they cut it out, I was like, cool, it's been told. and you see it
I mean,
in
Still wanted
Sansa
to
right
see their
away.
reaction.
No, but yeah, I mean, I wanted to see the reactions because here is this, you know, they don't call him a bastard brother, right? But here's
And
your
it's
brother, who you thought was your brother all this time, and although like he might be your brother because you grew up with him, like he really isn't your brother. Right?
Completely,
He's your
yeah.
cousin.
Yeah, he's your cousin.
He's your
'cause-
cousin. So
Mhm.
like the fact that, you know, as far as Sansa and Arya go, like the entire season, they're, you know, they grow up knowing that Jon is their brother, and then to drop that bombshell that, hey, I'm not your brother, it's just, I would have just wanted to see, you know, even if it was just like a face reaction, you know, just don't cut it there.
See, but like then you look at Theon as being a Greyjoy, and then obviously being around for so long to become a Stark. You know, I feel like that's another reason where that's kind of the same thing where, you know, as a family they were still bonded enough together to be family, whether they had the name or not. And I think that shows, especially with Sansa's actions later on. You know, like she obviously cares for Jon and wants what's best for the realm and for her family.
Yeah, but I mean, this
I
is
think she gives
this
that.
is like a bombshell of like, this is another living Targaryen. The Rhaegar's, you know,
Seeing their
living
reaction
son.
is akin to seeing the people's reactions to a dragon. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You want to see that because it completely shatters your world. You know what I mean? Imagine how much it would suck if you didn't see Jaime's reaction to Drogon, you know, or Sansa's reaction to the dragons, or Arya's reactions to the dragons. That's what's ultimately disappointing. And what's a little bit uncharacteristic is Jon saying still, "Oh, I was never a Stark." But it's like, wait, didn't you just tell Theon last season that you're both a Stark and a Greyjoy? I mean, wouldn't he also think that in this case he's both a Stark and a Targaryen?
Also, like, just think about how Catelyn treated him. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think he hates the thought of being a bastard, and he also still believes he is a bastard in a certain sense because, mind you, his identification of who he was his entire journey. You know, and then obviously finding out he was a Stark was a good thing, and like, you know, him finally getting accepted was a great thing, and then his bombshell, like, fuck, I'm a fucking Targaryen. And you know, and I think it's really interesting to me because I mean I think it really shows like a true faith, like how close of family are they? And I think both of them, maybe not Arya just yet because obviously she just took off with a hound,
Yeah.
but Sansa really showed what her allegiance is and where family and blood is thicker than water in that sense. And I really love that there's that unification going on with them.
I didn't like that Arya said she was going to go back to Winterfell. I was like,
I mean, Winterfell or King's Landing?
no, that she wasn't going to come
Oh,
back
okay.
to Winterfell.
I mean,
She thinks she's gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when, like, I was about to ask this question. So, what do you all think Arya's intentions are going to King's Landing? What do you think she's trying to do?
I mean, I think the obvious thing to say would be that she's going to kill Cersei.
Yeah.
That she wants to kill Cersei, but she might be forced to do something else. Possibly kill Daenerys. I don't know.
I don't know.
I see that coming out. Like that's where my head was at after I think I shared that picture with y'all, and I was like, "That's true." I mean, we can't leave that under the rug. Like that's still
No, you can't. But I
option.
mean, to give her two big moments like that, like I don't think we're gonna see it again.
But think about the
Yeah,
tattoo.
I wouldn't
The pack
like it
survives.
because then she's just OP and then you patch in the next episode.
I mean, going to the tattoo. I mean, the pack survives, but that doesn't mean Daenerys dies.
I know,
Yeah.
but like the fact that like think of it this way: Jon's in danger. Jon is somehow, for some reason, they're in this. She's Mad Queen mode. Jon is in this area where obviously he will not kill the one he loves because he never killed Ygritte, obviously, and he will not kill Dany. Like I don't see him killing Dany at all. So Dany could go on this thing where she pulls a fast one, might try to kill him, and then Arya comes to save him because they're blood is thicker than water. And going back to that, obviously.
I can see that being a thing, you know,
Mhm.
if Daenerys turns. But if she doesn't,
Yeah, if she doesn't, that's a whole other thing. I
I
feel.
mean, how crazy would it be that Arya gets to Cersei first, right? Complete like tin hat theory. Wait, Arya gets to Cersei first, and then steals fucking Cersei's face, and then it's like she uses Cersei's face to get to Daenerys or something. I mean, I don't know. I mean, knowing
Why would she let Cersei get near her?
why would I mean maybe there's a showdown of just like, oh shit, Daenerys thinks she's gonna win, right? She's mad. She's mad. What are you fucking talking about?
I mean,
like if
He's
you said that
basically
there's a
saying like
showdown.
their physicality and how like they don't have real experience in fighting.
Yeah,
Is what
no,
he's
seriously,
mentioning.
you know.
Yeah.
I get that, but I think Daenerys has the upper hand with Cersei.
For sure, obviously.
Especially
She's
like,
killed
did you
whites.
guys see her sword swinging on Battle of Winterfell?
Yeah,
I actually
it's
didn't
more
pay
like
attention to that.
poking.
Oh, I know. Clearly a joke.
Anyways, not something I'm actually like hoping or thinking is gonna happen, but just like
Yeah.
a tin hat thing, like
I'd
What
say the last thing that kind of pissed me off was Euron killing Rhaegar. I didn't really like that too much because it kind of just shows that Euron is just like a plot device to make the story go forward because he just appears there and they didn't see him, they didn't plan for him. It's just like,
I mean, they didn't plan for him because they were focused on the long night, right? So like, while they were focused on the long night, like that whole time was just what?
no, keep going.
No, yeah. So like, while everybody, you know, in the north was fighting against Night King, like that entire time that they were preparing for that, Cersei was preparing for Daenerys, and you know, she must have thought like, hey, in order for Daenerys to get to King's Landing, she has to come through Dragonstone, and whether you know they're spies or not, like Cersei knew that Daenerys was on the move, so she had Euron there ready.
Whatever. Yeah, it's already on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So yeah. To your point, I see. I can see that perspective from the people who are around Daenerys, like the soldiers and stuff like that. But I just don't see it from Daenerys because in season 7, at the very end, she says, I can't pretend like Cersei is not gonna take Dragonstone and all the lands I've captured once I go north to help you. But the Night King is the real threat, And so if she was already thinking about it then, why didn't she think about it now? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. But I mean, she must have, like, the way I'm thinking about it, she might have just been high on her, the overall victory over the Night King. So she, like, in a sense, she felt on top of the world. So she wasn't really thinking about anything. Like, her only thing was just like, okay, now I'm coming for you, bitch. And it clouded her judgments, and she just completely forgot that, oh shit, you're on. I mean, that Cersei's still, a threat as far as, like, here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, because to me, like, I think the big theme of this is learning from your mistakes, at least as far as Dany's concerned. She just hasn't. And you see it when they're in, what's it called, the game room? I forgot. A war room. There you go. They're in a war room. They're making their
war
plans.
console, yeah.
I don't know what it's called. Point is, they basically, fuck you, man.
I mean, I was about to say, I mean, he called it the right thing. It's pretty much a war room. I mean,
war council.
The people who are there is the council, the war council, but they're in a room where they plan a war. So it's a war room.
We're going to argue about this. God damn it.
Who's right? Let us know.
Yeah, no shit, right?
After everything, who's right? Let us know.
Anyway, but yeah, like the fact that she quickly dismisses Sansa's advice, and obviously none of that would have happened if they just stayed literally a day or two. I mean, obviously she didn't give a timeline, but she did not listen again to advice, and she went in blindly. I mean, when you saw her, she was just seeing Rhaegar and like super happy that that he's flying again, and he's kind of temporarily healing, and then boom, it happens, and it's like, well,
she snaps back into reality, and she's like, fuck, Cersei
snap
is a
back
threat.
to reality.
There you go. Mom spaghetti.
I will have to say one cool thing from an action perspective was Tyrion's like just one tracking shot that they had where the ships start getting pelted by Euron's scorpions, and you just like the camera just stays on Tyrion trying to like kind of like escape the boat, and it's just one continuous shot, and then like you see him finally like jump off and get knocked out again. That's like the third time he gets knocked out in a
how
battle.
did he not die like in the water getting knocked out?
Dude, especially a pole like that, it's like,
dude, that's like, yeah, that's easily like almost like
instant
500
death.
pounds.
The
or
Lord of
some
Light
shit.
has a purpose for him.
It's interesting to talk about that because we got some things for our prediction part of the podcast. But is there anything else you guys want to talk about in terms of the quality of the show? Or you want to just jump into the...
honestly, with me, it definitely, brought me back with this episode. Because I was very worried about, where the entire thing was headed. Because I just didn't know, like, where is this fucking series headed, right? And this brought me back in. So I talked about on the long night how it just didn't feel like Games of Thrones. And this did. And I was actually very satisfied with this episode.
Yeah, like I think for me, I mean, I'm still happy with it. I mean, my mindset from the first episode, obviously fast paced. There's some kind of lack of quality as far as writing and, extending the story. But overall, like I'm really enjoying it. There's only one thing I'm going to bitch about is like that whole standoff with Cersei and Daenerys like 20 Unsullied versus like fucking 10 Scorpions and
Yeah.
a shit ton of archers looks stupid. Like the only way they could have made that shot a little bit better was like they had the rest of like John's army and just kind of show up and be there to back her
Right.
because it just looked ridiculous to me. I was just like, well, they're all gonna die right now. Fuck it.
It did,
But-
and I think
Cersei could have ended the war right
Yeah,
there.
exactly, right then
Mhm.
and there. But I think what Daenerys was kind of going for is just like, hey, we're just asking you to step down. Like, we don't want to show you our full force yet. You know, just step down,
Yeah.
and then, you know, we don't need to get to that point. Because at this point, I think she's taking some advice from, I think it was Varys or Tyrion.
I forgot who
you
said
know,
it.
yeah, so
yeah.
about the
Someone
people,
said it
right?
in the war room. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, like,
Mhm.
I think she's just trying to show, like, hey, I'm not coming to fuck you all up, but you need to step down. And I think that's why she's there. But then again, it's kind of stupid because if Cersei was really threatened or she really wanted to keep the throne, she could have just ended them. Like, that's it. Like,
I mean, they
where-
were willing to do that to the Starks in the Red Wedding.
yeah,
so.
like, where's
Yeah.
John? Like,
Mhm.
where's the rest of your army, right? So, like, they could have easily ended it there, and they didn't. So, I mean, I guess I see as far as, like, the writing and all, you know, all that stuff, that
It
could
just
be a
could
little
have been
disappointing.
visually better for me.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
I mean, lastly, I'd say, but like I didn't love the episode, but I liked it. I thought it
Mhm.
felt like
Same.
old school Game of Thrones, and I do think this half has the potential to be better than the first half of the season.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Um,
nah, for sure.
But other than that, I guess we can go into theory predicting and stuff. Did you guys see the preview of the next week's episode?
Yeah.
I did, but now that I'm thinking about
Is there
it,
anything that popped out to you can't remember?
I can't really remember much from
So
it.
me and Juan were watching it right now before we got here, and the first shot shows Daenerys, and her hair is all unraveled and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So she looks like a mad queen.
Yeah, it looks like she's tirada, that she's been like kind of like mourning for a couple days, you know?
It makes me feel like there might be some sort of a time jump between this episode and next episode, at least in the span of at least like a week or two, because I mean you'd imagine it'd take a while for her hair to get all like that.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I don't think Dragonstones is just like a day away, you know? I think it's
Yeah, of course
probably
not.
a couple days. to
Yeah,
get
and then
there.
they showed John there, which they had already said it was going to take a fortnight, which I don't know if you guys know, but a fortnight means 14 days.
14 days.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
I was like, I had no.
yeah,
idea. I was like 4 nights. Yeah.
when I watched the episode and she said, yeah, it'll take John a fortnight to get here, I was just like, I wonder what that is. So, thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that at all.
So I mean, yeah, there has to be, you know, at least what 2 weeks, because I mean, if he's gonna take a fortnight to get there, Daenerys isn't gonna be waiting there for a couple days for him to get there. Like, I think she's gonna get there when he gets there. So I mean, week and a half tops, I think is the time jump.
Probably, yeah.
Which I think we see a week and a half on, you know, most of it, because I mean, I guess I can only assume that it takes days to get from like, you know, Winterfell to Dragonstone to King's Landing. So I think in between all that, I think it's been about a week
Yeah, probably.
from when like they burnt the bodies.
Yeah.
So.
And then after that, it cuts to Cersei, which Juan brought something up that he really thinks that if you look at the shot that Cersei's pregnant, but I think she's lying, but I don't know what you think. Do you
I
think
mean,
Cersei's really pregnant?
I was actually thinking about it on the car ride back home, and I'm just like, okay, if, you know, Cersei's pregnant, that kid's not going to be a Lannister. It's going to be a Greyjoy, right? Because, right, I mean, it is, because you think Jaime is the dad?
I think they're
No.
just lying the
Oh,
whole
no,
time.
that's why, but
See,
there's
I
a
don't-
scene. Wait, I'll let you go first.
Sorry. So with me, I think it's Jaime's, because here's the thing. Like Cersei, again, like they've been stating how much she loves her children, and you know what's the motive behind all this resistance? I mean, yes, like she gets to save whatever she has left, but it's not really her true motive because she loves her children more than she loves herself. So I feel like I think she was tripping shit because Euron was probably there like, what? Like, you're already pregnant? Because now that immediately devalues her to him. So obviously I feel like there could be a turn there, but also a lot of people in the show are getting pregnant. And, you know, they're kind of setting up the future. Like, they're kind of setting up what happens after, because obviously if all these people get wiped out, what does happen after? With Sam and Gilly, you know, having a child, possibly Cersei having a child. You know, I think I think that's her motive in doing all this resistance. Because what's the point if she has nothing? You know, it makes me feel like she's just.
I mean, I think that's the point. So right now she
Mhm.
has nothing, right? So if the baby is Jamie's, right? She's telling Euron like, hey, it's your baby, so that she doesn't lose Euron, because Euron has proved to be, I guess, valuable.
plot device.
Yeah. So like, yeah, okay. I mean,
Fuck you.
that's fair to see. That's fair to see it that way. But I mean, Euron has been valuable, So she's already lost everybody else. If she loses Euron, she loses the Iron Fleet.
I just think for
So,
sure.
hold
Sorry,
on,
no, you go.
just to finish up, I do think she's pregnant. Now, if it's either Jamie's or Euron's, it's still up in the air, because I could see where she tells Euron like it's your baby, so she keeps him close, but it's really Jamie's. I do think she's pregnant though.
I really do think that
Mhm.
she's not. I really think that that's going to be one of her final things that's going to push everyone over the edge to just want her to die. Is once Jamie
lie about
realizes she really isn't pregnant,
See, and I'm very okay with if she is lying, and that's pushes Jamie to the edge of like, fuck it, I'm gonna kill you because you're pure evil, and that's just where that should go.
Yeah,
'Cause,
it's
I mean,
pretty-
That's a good motivator for me to believe that he will finally see her as that monster.
I think he does.
No, and I think
Yeah.
he does too. But I know everyone's questioning like, why is he going back? But it's because obviously he doesn't want Brienne to follow. Because we all know anyone going there right now, it's a suicide mission.
Probably not going to come back.
Very
Mhm.
quickly, what did you think of Jamie leaving Brienne? Do you think that he was really falling back to his old ways, or that he was doing it to protect Brienne?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it wasn't either or. I think,
Interesting.
yeah, I think he's not going to be with Cersei, and he's not leaving Brienne to be with Cersei. I think he's going because he feels that he could be, a voice of reason to Cersei. Now he already knew that she was pregnant, right? But, I think he's trying to be that last, bit of hope of like, let me try to talk to her before, you all fuck her up.
I think the only thing is that he believes that she's pregnant, and so he wants to find a way to probably save that child, and that's
Yeah.
his only motivation.
Yeah, and
And the only reason he told what he told to Brienne is because he feels like if Brienne would go over there, there's a very high chance that she would die. And
yeah, exactly. So he didn't want Brienne to follow because, I mean, again, how wants it? Everybody headed that way. For the most part, probably isn't going to make it out, right?
Right.
So he doesn't want to risk that. He's going to try to do what he has to do, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, make it back. But I think at this point, it's for Brienne's sake.
And also, I think this season has done a good job of showing how much the Lannisters really care for their family as a whole.
yeah,
I think Tyrion showing resistance towards Dany's ways really shows that, man, it's possible our family could live on through
Mm.
this child. Then, and even he's trying his best to like, no, don't obliterate them.
Right.
Give them an opportunity and, whatever. And Dany clearly sees that. And then obviously Jamie sees that. And that's why he goes off. And it's crazy. Like family ties are really becoming an influence. And again, like if it is revealed that she isn't pregnant at all by any means, I think it's a very fitting and motivation for Jamie to just end it.
right.
And I really think he's the one. Him or Tyrion should be the ones to kill Cersei.
Yeah, definitely.
And if it ends up just say being Arya, like that's when I would complain. Where I think she's had too many big moments in this season because, yeah, she has a
In
motivation
general,
for it.
she's had too many big moments.
Like I mean, I don't think it's too many. I think it's very well suited because, like, again, I didn't like her arc, mind you, but like now it all makes sense why she had this arc, and that's why I love it. Like I'm very okay with it.
I just
Now,
think
if she does Cersei, it's just kind of like okay, overkill. Like
I think so
Yeah.
too, because I
Yeah.
mean, they definitely brought her. They made her an important person in the season when she had that sex scene with Gendry.
yeah,
Right, that's a
Mhm.
big deal. A little girl that we all remember seeing in season 1. She was like, how old was she?
11.
11.
11, yeah,
Right,
and she's
so, like,
like 18.
21 now.
So now she's like, now she's old enough to obviously
Consummate.
exactly like it's weird for a lot of viewers. So like that was a big moment in her like Game of Thrones career, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So then she killed the Night King, and it's just like, okay, we get it. This season, makes Arya, kind of like the person you focus on.
Right.
I mean, if they do end up giving her another big moment, I do think it'll be overkill.
See, and I also think like too, they're focusing on all the Starks having big moments, like, and also showing how far they've come. Because like, look at Sansa. Like, I hated Sansa to like right when the season started, I still hated her, but now I honestly love her. She is the most clear-minded, smartest individual in this show right now, and I really love that because it shows that they have actually learned from their lessons. The only one that hasn't really learned is Jon. You know, he just tends to get lucky, and he's just a badass. You know what I mean? And though he is a great character, and I don't see him as the best ruler, but he could be a good ruler, sure. But they focused on how far they've come, and I've really enjoyed that. Now, again, overkill with Cersei for sure.
Yeah. What was the initial question? Because I feel like
Yeah, we kind of straight off. We kind of straight off.
big time.
I do not remember.
I mean, anyways,
I
I just to wrap up that I don't see Arya being, the main.
Oh, how
focus
do we
at the
care
end.
about Brienne and Jamie? That's
that was
the
the initial
okay,
question.
So, yeah, so Brienne leaving Jamie. Just to wrap that up.
Jamie leaving
right?
Brienne.
Yeah, Jamie leaving Brienne. There you go. Yeah, Jamie kind of left harshly so that Brienne would be heartbroken and not
Yeah.
follow.
I
But-
hope that's what it is, because if it's not, I hate Game of Thrones
Yeah,
more
yeah,
now.
Honestly,
Jamie-
I would hate
Yeah.
it too as well.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Jamie's like my favorite character.
Yeah,
arc.
Jamie does not want, anything to do with Cersei, but he feels like because the kid inside her could be his as far as he thinks, like he feels like he could still reason with her, and that's why he left. He's not gonna go and be like, "Hey, Cersei, let me fight for you." Like, no, he's going over there to be like, "Hey, quit your shit. Like, they're gonna
Yeah.
fucking kill you and they're gonna kill my baby, so stop."
Oh, yeah, and going further into the teaser, you see the Golden Company, and if you look at the very back, they have somebody who's cloaked, and so it seems like they're bringing a prisoner into King's Landing or out of King's Landing. We're not really sure, but I think it is a prisoner that they have. Who do you think that prisoner might be?
That's interesting. Well, I mean, the episode ends with Daenerys being fucking mad, right? So no, but then you see her in Dragonstone. Never mind. I just kind of contradicted my theory. I was gonna say like maybe it's Dany, right? Like she loses her shit. She gets on Drogon. They fuck Drogon up because she's not thinking clearly, and then they take her prisoner.
So it's interesting you say that, but when you look at
Oh, it's male?
it's
It's a male.
he
Oh.
looks huge, and so I'm thinking that it's the Hound.
See,
But
and
what? Okay, sorry, go.
see, I don't think it's a prisoner. I think as I know it's kind of far fetched and really hard to believe that as they walk out, they walk in, kind of bullshit. But it doesn't even look like he's not facing the same direction. You see his feet aimed the opposite way, and then you see the back of his head with the cloak.
Yeah.
So I believe as the Golden Company is leaving, going to battle, Arya is always helping the Hound get to Clegane Bowl, and I think that's kind of what's happening, and I feel like that it wouldn't make much sense in the shot the way it's angled. I hope that's like a fake shot in a way. I doubt it, but
Yeah.
it's just weird and hard to believe that it's just coming out the way it is. But I think if anything, that could be where that's going.
I mean, but what significance does the Hound play to,
I would-
Dany or to Jon? Like, why would they?
He just
It
wants.
sounds
Clegane.
bad, but why would they care? I mean, yeah, if they're bringing him out as a prisoner, right? Like, why would they care about the Hound?
Yeah, no, I don't think they do,
Yeah.
and I think that's might preempt the war to just start, just to show that.
Now,
But you see, I hope that's not what it is. I
That'd be
hope
really
it's something
cool
else.
If they're pulling him out and then they're gonna fight.
Possibly.
I mean,
That'd be an interesting showdown.
it could be the thing because like whoever's pulling out, this cloaked guy, is actually maybe Arya, disguised as a faceless man, right? So, Clegane says, the Hound says like, hey, I have unfinished business, right? Hold on, wait. So like the Hound says like, I have unfinished business, right? So does Arya. Arya definitely has a skill set that can help him, finish his business. And what if this is that, right? So they make it seem like the Hound is important, right? And you're gonna have the Mountain fucking execute him, right? And you're excited, I know, but like the Hound is gonna get executed by his brother, and it just turns out that the Golden Cloak or whoever brings the Hound up, like it's just Arya and she lets him free, and we get the Clegane Bowl, they fucking fight. But go for it because you looked excited, so I want to see what you have to say.
That it might be a faceless man. What if it's Arya as like a dude and they say like we captured this person
That's what
trying
they
to
said.
assassinate the queen, but when they execute, you know, that faceless man, it's actually Arya who was in the cloak and everything. And
So
that's
Arya gets executed, is what you're saying?
possibly, yeah. And that
Hmm.
kickstarts the war even more because now John has a stake in the fight as well.
Yeah,
Because it
I
might
mean,
be. It seems anticlimactic, but it might be that that's how they end Arya Stark. Is that she thinks that she can end this just as easily as the Night King, but she gets caught in the
mean,
midst of it.
I wouldn't be disappointed by that, but it just depends how they execute it. You know, I think
That's why I was
I
like,
think Arya's too good for that, though. You know, as far as like how skill set she is, like just to get caught, like you know what I mean, like I think she's proven to be someone that's very valuable on the battlefield and just valuable as a person. So the fact that depending on how they capture, mind you, maybe we see a whole action sequence for 5 minutes and
that's
you know,
how she got
she
captured.
gets captured. But I mean, it just kind of depends how they execute it because I don't see that happening. I feel like she's gonna avoid the battle and get to her goal because they're both very focused on their goals.
I mean, here's the thing: like, Arya can just basically take on the form of anybody, right? So, like, think about the people who are close to Cersei who wouldn't be hard to kill. I mean, first person who comes to mind is like Qyburn, right?
Colored
I mean,
eyes are Jamie's.
Huh?
Colored eyes are Jamie's.
Golden axe.
No, I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I was actually thinking earlier,
Well,
like, what
think about it. Like,
what are
maybe,
the Lannister colors? Like,
I
for
really
their eyes?
hope Arya doesn't kill Jamie.
No, I know, but just say like
Then I wouldn't want Arya to
because
die.
we're talking about like how Arya could get close to Cersei, and if she has to be a face, really, it's just Jamie. Like,
But I mean, she has Qyburn, who's not only the Maester.
What?
Who's not only the Maester, but he's
It
the,
is
the,
Jamie who's captured.
that could make more sense because I mean he only has one fucking hand,
Hmm.
so that it could be him. It could be
Okay.
him.
That's interesting.
And who knows what they're going to do to him, right? Because in the shot that me and Juan saw, it's kind of hard to tell whether they're going outside the city or
It
inside
would
the
give
city.
Jamie enough time to like talk to her and be
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I'm siding with these guys. Like, seriously, give up the throne." And then, you know, Cersei said like, "Let it be the like what was it, season 7? Like, let it be the last time you cross me or whatever." Like,
Yeah.
so this is him crossing her again, right? So like,
She-
Jamie crosses her again, and Sissy.
What?
I said sissy. I meant to say Cersei, you know, keeps her word. And you're like, okay, I mean, you came here siding with the enemy. Fuck you. Like, and Tyrion being on, you know, the opposing side, it's going to have some sway over, you know, the entire battle if they pull out Jamie and like, hey, you want Jamie back? Like, y'all need to surrender or whatever. But, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe like he fucking really throws away all that 7 seasons of character development and he becomes a part of them. And
I
he's
really hate
super
that.
pissed.
I would hate that. I
mean-
would be like, "Fuck you, Game of Thrones." Two out of 10.
I really think that Arya takes a faceless man, right? Or she becomes a faceless man, whether it's Qyburn or one of her, or you fucking maybe even fucking Euron. Like, you don't know. I mean, she got Walder
Makes
Frey,
sense.
right? So like, if she does embody them and she pretends to be them, then those are probably the 2 closest people Cersei has. So that's like an easy shot. I mean, does it sound Game of Thronesy? No, it doesn't.
I was about to say
but-
it sounds a little too easy,
But-
but yeah,
but
I feel
the,
that.
the thing is does she kill Cersei or does she just, you know,
Get
wound
caught.
her or does she get caught and she's the one walking out? Like, I mean,
Maybe,
I think
you know,
we're,
it's
we're
really
feeding each other
interesting.
theories
So,
here.
so maybe crazy, like obviously maybe she gets close, really finds out from just say takes on Qyburn, right? She says, "Oh yeah, I'm not really pregnant." She tells that to Jamie for whatever reason, and then he does the blow.
Nah, I
He
mean, I'm pretty sure
pretends-
he's gonna find out in a way that
No, I know,
she wouldn't
but,
tell him.
But I'm saying as far as like, because I mean, Arya can't kill Cersei in my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
she can't.
No, I mean, she won't. But, okay, so
Really awkward.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, no, it's because I was trying to think. But okay, so you said that Arya can't kill Cersei.
I mean, she can't.
No. But I just need to know what the last thing you said so I can rebuttal after.
Whenever you're ready.
One, two.
Yeah, Arya can't kill Cersei. I really think at this point that Arya will give valuable information that pushes Jamie over the edge, and that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that you say that because I was actually just thinking, like, when you mentioned, you know, that she would give this information to Jamie. You know, what if Jamie just kind of, you know, plays it off as he doesn't know just to get close to Cersei, but after getting this information, he realizes, like, you know, Cersei is just a shitty human and, you know, a monster, you know, despite what Tyrion says, right? And just to get close to her, he kills her. And, I mean, that ends, you know, that entire arc. But it kind of leads to the, you know, Azor Ahai because, I mean, okay, you kill Cersei. Would you all think that, you know, the minute Cersei's dead, that the Lannister army would just put their arms down and just, like, we're
No.
done?
Not
Right?
at all. No.
So, like, what,
How would they even find? Because if you compare it to something like, I mean, I think they're all gonna be killed. Yeah, because I mean, how would they even know that Cersei was dead? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at the end, I think they would still continue fighting.
yeah, so, like, okay, so Cersei dies, right? The Azor Ahai prophecy is fulfilled with Jaime, right? And I know Azor Ahai is supposed to be done with the White Walkers, right? But
It's
but
not supposed
no,
to
no.
be.
Well, I mean, originally it was done with the White Walkers.
You know, but even then, like if you read the exact text from the book, it says that they would defeat the Great Other, and the Great Other, it's never specified to be the White Walker, and
But
also
in one case, it was, right?
no, that's the interesting thing is that they never specify White Walker.
Mhm.
It's just something that people thought, oh, it must be the White Walker since
yeah.
they're referred to as the others. But a lot of people are thinking that the Great Other just means the Great Evil.
Yeah.
You
So,
know,
so
and-
with that said, you know, I also believe that it doesn't need to be the White Walkers to fulfill the prophecy, right? So, like, with all this being done, you know, Jaime kills the one person he loves, which is the final step for fulfilling, you know, the prophecy, and then Jaime becomes Azor Ahai and helps defeat, you know, everything else around him. Whether that's like, I mean, I don't see how much damage he can do because, I mean, given his actual, like, right hand is done, like, he can't fight with it at all. But I mean, you never know. It might be something he says that makes people put down their arms or something, or it's gonna turn into a fist.
Now, remember in season 4,
Yeah. Like, what do you see?
Jojen, he's
Mhm.
like, how will you know the end is coming? He's like, you'll know. And he's
Yeah.
looking at his hand and it's burnt.
So what if it's like
And
the
it's
end of the war?
it's the same hand that Jamie's missing.
Yeah. So I
Maybe it's the actual end of the war through him killing Cersei. Not
Mhm.
necessarily the end of all humanity itself and monarchy, but literally when Jaime is the one to kill Cersei.
so like even before the prophecy's fulfilled, like Jaime is Azor Ahai.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, I don't think they would
Yeah,
just
because especially-
forget about Azor Ahai.
No, yeah, especially because Azor Ahai says it's a prince that was the prince that was promised that would bring the dawn,
He's
and
technically a prince. He
and-
just
and-
went into
the dawn
Kingsguard.
could be anything. It could be the dawn of a new age, the dawn of, you know, something. You know,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to literally be the White Walkers.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on to the last shot of the episode, and we can go back to Azor Ahai if there's anything else that reminds you of it. But the last shot of the preview, Euron is looking at the sky,
that one.
and then he
Yeah.
makes a face like
like,
he's
"Oh,
surprised. But I was telling Juan, and I even told my brother, I'm like, what could Euron be surprised by? And he knows what the dragon is. He knows Drogon. He wouldn't be surprised by Drogon. He must be expecting it to happen. There needs to be something, and I have a theory as to what it is. But I
I want to hear that because I honestly think it's just like he's just seeing like the flame coming down, right? So like Okay.
I think he would be predicting
so,
it already.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see what you're theorizing.
Yeah, I mean, because he's killed a dragon and because he's seen a dragon, I think it can't be Drogon. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And what I'm thinking is there's a theory on Reddit that supposedly Bran, the three-eyed raven, is the Lord of Light. And that supposedly the reason he's the Lord of Light is because the Lord of Light is all-knowing and everything. And supposedly they say that a lot of people were saying that in the Battle of Winterfell, he was just like in the crows and stuff. But it might have been Bran's way of seeing who needed help in the battlefield. And once he saw what Melisandre was doing, he's the one that caused the fire to, all over the trench and everything. And a lot of people are thinking that he might be the Lord of Light because the Lord of Light, in a sense, has his own whites, right? because you have the whites that the Night King brought up, which are just dead, brainless people.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, Beric was brought back to life, and John was brought back to the life
So they're
by the
technically
power
a
of the.
white.
Yeah, so they're kind of like a white, but they're like an anti-white because he still retained most of their memories. You know what I mean? And so it might be that Bran finally uses something that's we haven't seen, you know, in terms of his power acumen, and he might bring Rhaegal back to life by warging into the dead body of Rhaegal. And it might be that Euron is seeing Rhaegal out of the sky.
I think my only problem with that theory is like, okay, so when you were first introduced to Beric, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's already been brought back 9 times.
Seven.
Or 7 times.
6 times.
Well, 6, 7.
Yeah, 6, 7.
No, so
Enough.
he's yeah, so, yeah, he's been brought back plenty of times, right? So like, where was if Bran is the Lord of Light? Where was the Lord of Light then? Is it the previous 3-eyed Raven? What's his name? Fucking
Forgot his fucking name.
Brendan Rivers.
Brendan Rivers. There you go.
Yeah.
So like, was it Brendan Rivers playing the Lord of Light?
Well, yeah, because the theory is that the three-eyed raven, who he is just one entity that jumps from body to body to body to body. So whoever that person was before, whether it was Bran Stark, Brendan Rivers, they're completely taken out. Almost kind of like, you know, you seen Get Out, right? How
Yeah.
they kind of like put his consciousness to the back
Okay.
and he can't control himself anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're saying that that's what the three-eyed raven is. He goes from body to body to body. But he's been around for thousands of years now, and he's, you know, the Lord of
It's
Light.
kind of like a Darth Plagueis kind of theory for Star Wars. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
So with that too, I think what really supports it is like they're trying to make Bronn look like he's done. And there's an article out in the New York Post talking about his character in the first 3 episodes, and man, like it's like going against everything we all know, like clearly, because basically they're asking like, hey, so does Bronn manipulate this? Does
Bran.
Brent? I fucking know what I mean. I fucking always get their names wrong. Anyway, the whole episode, I swear I say that line once or twice. They ask him that, and then he's like, no, I just look and I see things and I observe. And, like, you could read through the article, and it's such an obvious, like, I'm not going to give you any fucking truth to this show. And it feels like it's definitely trying to take away the thought that he actually has a play in what's to come. And you know, when he told me this theory, I was just like, shit, like, that's makes a whole lot of sense. Now, will the dragon fully come back? That's crazy if it does. And I'm going to lose
I'm
my
thinking
fucking
that's
shit.
the only thing that would surprise Euron. I can't imagine it being anything else but something like that.
Yeah, I think my shitty theory was like, there's more dragons, but they're not fully grown. And I was just like, yeah, dude, it was so stupid. And I'm like, even that doesn't make sense. Like, there's no way. So I don't fucking know.
I mean,
You know, I think that's a very reasonable theory that makes sense.
it's definitely interesting. I don't know what I think about that. I mean, I could see it playing out. I could see it playing out like that. You know. I don't know, man. I mean, yeah, because it's true. Like, Daenerys wouldn't be stupid after what happened to Rhaegal. She wouldn't be stupid if he gets so close, but yet there's a lot of clouds. Like, if you see that shot,
Yeah.
you know, they're covered by clouds, right?
Well, I think that might, if it is Rhaegal, that would be the surprising thing. Seeing him come out of the clouds.
I mean, I'm all for Game of Thrones being, like, magical and stuff, but
I really hope that there's still some magic left, because if there's not,
I'm still calling all the dragons die.
That
Because I think
sucks.
they're too powerful for that
I mean, at
role.
this point, Bran has to play an important role.
I'm pretty sure he
Right.
still has some
Because
important
he
role.
didn't play that fucking role in The Long Night. Like, he didn't.
Unless it's
He's the
unless
only
it's-
Stark they haven't showcased.
revealed that he's the Lord of Light, then he had a lot to play.
So, like, the Lord of Light is just the 3-eyed Raven, right?
He's the world's memories,
Yeah,
like you
there's-
said.
like so in that New York Post.
You think God would also know the world's memories, right? If that's what because that's what the Lord of Light is basically. He's like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
God of
Uh-huh.
Westeros.
But that's what I'm saying. Like in the New York Post, like they specifically asked him, so like, hey, so did he know when he told Theon you're a good man what was going to happen to him? He's like, no, he didn't know. He was just saying that because he has no personal things. He said that and he forgave him, and that's exactly what his answer was. And I'm like, that's stupid. There's no why else would he tell him that if he knew what his fate was?
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So they're trying to really, I guess, trick us that that's all he is. And
Dude.
the fact they haven't showcased him in such a big way, like Man, that would be an epic way to do it.
Yeah, the more I think of it, that explains why Stannis Baratheon, from the get-go, just had, although he had Melisandre praying to the Lord of Light, why things just never went his way.
Yeah, because the
Right?
Lord of Light was fuck off.
Because the Lord of Light is probably like, I already know what's gonna happen. It's
Yeah.
not gonna be you. Like, sorry, I'm not gonna be there for you. Like, I
And
have
it-
like an overall like, I have bigger things to worry about than
And
you.
it makes it interesting because no one can beat him at the Game of Thrones if he knows everything.
Yeah, I mean, and it was kind of just like out of the blue that Rhaegal dies.
Super out of the blue. But the main thing that it's that reaction shot of Euron. It's like because if you look at the establishing shot of Euron, it doesn't show
It's
any
gonna be
battle.
dragon direwolves.
It doesn't. It doesn't show any battle damage or anything like that. You know what I mean? So it needs to be the start of the battle, and you would assume that Euron would be expecting Drogon to come out of the sky at the start of a battle.
The Mad King makes an appearance.
Hmm.
I'm just making bullshit. Like, no one take me seriously. Because I know his body was never found technically. So,
Yeah.
but that's not a real theory.
You know what I just noticed? Completely off topic. At the beginning of season 7, it's snowing in King's Landing, right?
Yeah.
But when they're all standing outside and they're trying to, negotiate a surrender, there's like no snow. So what?
Are you talking about the end of season 7?
Yeah, the end of season 7.
Yeah, it's snowing.
And then you cut to this episode and it's not snowing. Again,
Well,
it's
they-
completely off
They
topic.
killed
but-
the Night King.
So
that's
no,
my
no, no,
thing.
no.
But was he the one bringing
It's
the winter?
interesting you bring that up because I won't give too much away because it might be true, but
Because you read some spoilers on Reddit.
no,
They're
it's
not
just
really
set
spoilers on
photos
Reddit.
Okay,
that were
you
leaked.
Do
And
not
so I'm
tell
not-
me nothing.
No, I won't tell you who comes out in those set photos.
Fuck
But
up,
let's
you
just
told me
say
already.
that there's significant characters that they saw around the dragon pit, and the dragon pit was covered in snow, or what seemed to be snow.
What if it's the ashes of dead people?
Couldn't be.
I see dead people.
And so I don't know. I think these next 2 episodes. I mean, if you think about all the second to last episodes of all the other seasons, season 1, our main character died. Season 2, Tyrion became a war hero. Season 3, everybody died. Season 4, Jon became a war hero. Season 5, Jon died. No.
No, John dies last episode.
Yeah,
that's
John dies
true.
in the last episode.
Well, whatever. That's
5 wasn't the good one. So
in season 6,
Battle of the Bastards.
Battle of the Bastards. It's true. Okay, so maybe not that, but whatever. I do think.
Yeah, I was about to. Where are you getting?
Yeah,
Well,
about
I
to
do
say
think
it.
that-
I was like, I'm not sure where you're going either.
I mean, if you go to the earlier seasons, there's huge surprises that just completely shatter the world of the way you thought Game of Thrones, and I think there might be some surprises left that we don't know.
returns.
Tyrion is
With
is
Robin.
a Targaryen.
Robin
dude, so-
is an Animorph.
So
All the Lannisters are
I have to
Targaryens.
rewatch the episode because when I was watching the episode, there was something that just made me it clicked again, that there's still an identity we're not aware of, and I don't know what scene it was, but I saw it in this last episode where it made me think about it again. Like, what if Tyrion is a Lannister? I mean, a Lannister.
Targaryen.
Targaryen. So I have to,
That motherfucker's on Drogon.
dude. I have to. Dude, he'd fly off, dude. Like,
Oh, poor
yeah,
guy.
dude, yeah, so it's as hard as he holds on. I mean,
Peter Dinklage is amazing.
Yeah. But anyways, I have to rewatch the episode, and hopefully next time we get together, I'll be like, oh, this is a theory that I thought, if they don't reveal it. But there was a part in the episode where I was just like, Tyrion might still be a Targaryen, because, I mean, there's that whole theory that I talked to y'all about where, the Mad King was, in love with Jaime and Cersei's mom, right?
Yeah.
So at that time, the king could pretty much have whatever he wanted, and in one of those, he had, intercourse with, what was her name? I don't know her name off the top of my head, but it was basically the mom of Cersei and Jaime.
Right.
And out came,
Tyrion. Possibly.
and there's a lot of episodes where Tywin says, "You're not my son. You're not my son." Kind of stating that he isn't his son, and what if he is a Targaryen? And the reason Tywin never said anything is because it would shift the entire, Game of Thrones.
That would make 3 Targaryens, and the Golden
The
Company is just
3-headed
like
dragon. So,
3 heads of the dragon.
but I mean, I'll come back to this next episode.
Next week, yeah.
because I'm trying to remember that scene that made me think of this, and I just can't think about it right
Yeah,
now. But
yeah.
you know, just a thought for next episode.
Why do you have any?
Nah.
Yeah.
Done.
And I mean, I guess I'll do it for this episode of our reactions to Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 4. Catch us next week as we watch the most disappointing episode in history. No, it's fine.
Oh no!
I hope not. I hope
Dude,
not.
I'd be really pissed.
But it's going to be interesting to see whether or not anything that we predicted came true, and whether or not this season gets better, and whether or not we still think Game of Thrones is one of the best shows out there.
Even if this season sucks, I think
It's still one of the
it'll still be one. It probably won't be the best, but it'll
No,
be
no.
one of.
Yeah.
the
It's definitely
best.
one I'm gonna make my grandkids watch.
Exactly.
Sit down and watch this.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah, so like what? 15, 20 years from now, I'm gonna tell my kids like, "Hey, listen to this. This is me and some homies, you know."
Yeah, and
talking
they're like,
about it."
what are those 2 blonde people doing?
Yeah. Just, like, shit.
Don't do that.
Yeah. You can love your sister, but not like that,
And then hey, you never know where we are in 20 years.
right?
Yeah. But I mean, this is
Ancestry
Juan-
prohibited.
Carlos and Albie signing out for today. Peace.